minutes before the Arctic storm hits. Thousands of walruses surge onto the ice, shoulder to shoulder. Winds scream past -40 degrees Celsius as the sea beneath them fractures and drifts. The platform under their bodies never stays still. It cracks, it shifts, and disappears. Alone, they wouldn't survive, so they do something strange and build something the cold can't break. Building the shield. As the storm builds, walruses don't scatter. They do the opposite. They condense in hundreds, sometimes thousands, hauling onto the same stretch of ice until separate bodies blur into a single structure. This isn't just random crowding, it's geometry. Heat escapes from the exposed surface, so they reduce it. Compression limits loss. The outer adults face the wind, absorbing the cold with layers of blubber. They take the exposure first. Inside, calves are guided inward, shielded by sheer mass and rising body heat. Every position matters. Every shift has consequences. The group stops behaving like individuals. It behaves like insulation. Other Arctic survivors solve winter differently. Emperor penguins rotate positions through their huddles, taking turns at the frozen edge. Walruses don't rotate. They rely on mass alone. A living barrier against a storm that would overwhelm any one of them alone. But insulation alone isn't enough, because the ground beneath them never stays the same, and that instability changes everything. When space disappears, beneath the mass, the ice begins to move. Not dramatically at first, a subtle tilt, a widening crack, a slow narrowing along the edges. What feels solid becomes temporary. And when the platform contracts, distance becomes exposure. So they close ranks, shoulder to shoulder, flipper against flank, breath mixing in the freezing air. Energy becomes the currency of survival. Movement is minimized. Adjustments are small and deliberate. The group tightens not out of panic, but calculation. From the outside, it looks chaotic. From within, it is structured compression. But compression changes the rules. Weight concentrates toward the center. Thousands of massive bodies leaning inward, with each seeking the same protected space. There is no leader. No signal coordinating the pressure. Only instinct draws them tighter, and instinct does not measure force. The tighter they press, the safer they seem. Until the pressure inside the group explodes. When protection becomes a threat. But in a crowd this dense, survival can turn dangerous in seconds. High density creates force. Each adult weighs over a ton. Multiply that by hundreds leaning inward at once, and the numbers stop feeling abstract. They become pressure. It builds quietly. No sound announces it. No visible crack appears. Just weight transferring from one body to another. If one animal stumbles, the shift spreads outward in seconds. A ripple through muscle and bone. If something startles the edge, a sharp noise. Collapsing ice ridge. Even the sudden movement of a neighbor. The entire mass reacts as one, and walruses are not built for agility. They cannot pivot quickly, they cannot leap sideways. They surge, forward, inward, anywhere but still. Calves, once safest at the center, can disappear beneath the momentum. Not because the group intends harm, but because physics does not negotiate. Protection becomes a hazard without warning. The shield does not break from the outside. It collapses from within. And here's the unsettling part. The same instinct that tells them to press closer is the instinct that triggers the surge. So how do you survive a threat that comes from the very structure keeping you alive? That's only the beginning of the problem. When ice disappears. For centuries, drifting sea ice shaped this strategy. It created natural limits, natural spacing. But the Arctic is changing. Sea ice now forms later in the year and melts earlier in the season. Platforms that once supported massive gatherings vanish weeks sooner than they used to. Stable resting grounds grow scarce, so walruses adapt. They move to land. Rocky shores and narrow beaches become staging grounds for thousands of bodies packed into confined strips along the coastline. From a distance, it looks monumental, a living wall of tusks and hides stretching across the horizon. But something here is different. On ice, movement redistributes the mass. Drift creates subtle separation. On land, there is no drift, no slow correction, only fixed ground and rising density. Competition for central positions intensifies. Larger adults hold space through sheer weight, while the younger animals hesitate at the edges. Calves remain vulnerable not just to pressure, but to the terrain, because land introduces a new variable: height, cliffs, uneven ground. When panic spreads through a coastal gathering, escape routes narrow. Some rush toward the sea, others move blindly forward, and not all of them survive the stampede. The strategy remains the same: compress, protect, endure. But the environment has shifted beneath it, and when the setting changes, even successful instincts can become liabilities. So, what happens when cooperation meets a world that no longer supports it? The paradox of cooperation. Walruses survive because they cooperate. They share heat. They share protection. They absorb wind for one another. In isolation, an Arctic storm is lethal. Alone on unstable ice, energy drains quickly. Exposure wins, so they gather. They trust proximity. But cooperation magnifies consequence. The same closeness that preserves warmth can amplify panic. The same compression that blocks the storm can generate crushing force. The same instinct that pulls them inward can trap the smallest among them. This is the paradox. To live, they must accept risk from each other. And that risk is increasing. As climate pressure reshapes the Arctic, gatherings grow larger, platforms shrink, coastal haulouts expand beyond historical scale, density rises, and with density comes probability. Not certainty, but possibility. A stumble, a sudden noise, a chain reaction no individual can control. And yet, year after year, they return to the same instinct. They do not hesitate at the edge of the ice. They do not test distance first. They close it. Why? Because survival in the Arctic has never been about comfort. It has always been about margin. A few degrees of warmth, a few inches of space, a few bodies between you and the wind. Evolution does not design perfection. It designs trade-offs. In a landscape shaped by shifting ice and violent storms, walruses accept the risk they can endure. They choose the strategy that has worked long enough to persist, even if it carries internal danger. The force created by thousands may be unpredictable, but it is still stronger than isolation. And in a world where the environment grows less stable each year, strength, even imperfect strength, is what keeps them returning to the ice. From above, it may look like a disorder. Thousands of bodies packed onto unstable ice as the Arctic tears at the edges. But when you zoom in, every tusk, every scar, every calf tucked between giants. This is not chaos. It's a structure built from instinct. A living mass standing against wind that would freeze anything alone. In the Arctic, survival isn't clean. It isn't safe. It's close. And sometimes, the line between protection and peril is only a few inches of space.